Oops.
Can just see you, Tony.
Can you see that?
No.
Hey, can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Ah, cool. Okay, so I'll just make this into slideshow. Okay, so what is the alt season and why does it matter to us? So basically there is Bitcoin and all the other coins and tokens are called altcoins. So in other words, it's like there's really that's really kind of saying that really Bitcoin is really the one and only in a lot of people's minds. It is the one and only, and all the rest are basically shit coins, in various degrees, which is actually very, very far from the truth. But yeah, this is all part of the marketing. I see it as marketing for Bitcoin in many ways, and that's another reason why I'm just a little bit wary of the motives behind Bitcoin. But yeah, we can touch on that again as we go through the presentation. So Bitcoin is currently leading the market. That's an absolute fact, and we can't avoid that. And it is seen as the digital reserve currency of crypto. And because every other altcoin is priced in Bitcoin. You can price all crypto in US dollars, but also when it comes to trading crypto, a lot of people will compare the altcoins to to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is like USD, the US dollar is to say stocks. Bitcoin is the same to the altcoins. So they're already trying to set Bitcoin up as this something that's sort of almost permanent in our landscape. So that's definitely something that, well, you could say some people want, and then there's a lot of other people in a different camp who are doing their best to keep Bitcoin alive, and there's a lot who want to kill Bitcoin. So that's why I see it as a 50-50 bet. It's definitely in a tussle. And so Bitcoin gets most of the limelight from mainstream media, from all the influencers that are promoting it and all that. So you've got to ask yourself why. I do think a lot of them genuinely believe in Bitcoin as a safe haven, but I also think a lot of these people are paid to promote Bitcoin, or certainly maybe not paid and directly, but they're certainly influenced to promote it. BlackRock and Fidelity are buying up Bitcoin like crazy. I think it's now BlackRock alone now hold 250,000 Bitcoins. So you times that by 65 odd thousand, whatever it is now. That's a lot of money. That's many, many billions. And then when you add in Fidelity and all the other big ETF holders, they are basically kind of getting taken off the market, and they are essentially centralizing those tokens. That's the danger. With too many Bitcoins and too few hands, that's going to upset the balance of the distribution. However, there are 70 million odd other wallets, and that could be what saves it, is that there are a lot of people holding 1 to 5 Bitcoins, many, many millions of people. And that is what BlackRock and Fidelity and Co., I think They're trying to extract as many tokens out of people's wallets as they can. There's no real use case for Bitcoin except as a safe haven for the falling US dollar. And you could arguably say that, well, a lot of other cryptos are also a safe haven for the falling US dollar. Not only are they a safe haven, they also potentially could well and truly overtake the US dollar. And gold and silver is also a very big case for a safe haven from the dollar. So it's not just Bitcoin. The competition to Bitcoin has not yet materialized for a reason. In other words, the altcoins are kind of in the shadows because they've been held back, because they are underpinning, the key ones will be underpinning a new financial system, and that could actually upset the whole Bitcoin agenda. So when Bitcoin loses its number one spot, suddenly it will be pushed to the side, and there will be other tokens if they take their place, and they don't want that. They do not want that. Those who promote Bitcoin do not want that to happen. The ETF has brought Bitcoin to Wall Street and the big investors. So we know why that is, because that's how they can control it. The more they hold, the more they can control. As the price gets higher, the risk increases for a rug pull of mega proportions. Rug pull meaning they basically then could then start to collapse the price through manipulation. Being such a big holder, they could say they could just dump them on the market. It definitely upsets the decentralized nature of it, and they've got mechanisms at their disposal, but it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy because of the nature of the code of Bitcoin and the miners. The miners are pretty staunch, but again, they're humans, and I'm sure they could be they could be coerced into something they may not otherwise want to do if there was enough on the table for them. So the miners could be seen as the weak link there. However, and despite all this, banks hate Bitcoin, or not all banks, but most banks hate Bitcoin because it's taking business away from them. So this is not just a cut and dried black and white argument. There's a lot of nuances to this. And a lot of regular people have done extremely well out of Bitcoin, well before any institution. So that's why, a lot of people sing the praises of Bitcoin, and they really, really believe in it with all their heart. It's made a lot of regular people actually quite rich. And so you've got to hand it to those people. They had balls to get in, early and bought up well. But I know a lot of them are starting to take profit. Some of those very early ones are taking profit. The Bitcoin maxis, the hardcore Bitcoin maxis, I think they might be taking some profit, but most of them are holding for the long, long term. So we'll have to see how that plays out. So yeah, just to finish that off, so Bitcoin is so important to the whole rest of the market, because without Bitcoin, we wouldn't have a crypto market. And as Bitcoin gets more and more higher in price, that spills over into the altcoins, because people are looking for a better return on investment. At $1,000 or $500, Bitcoin was a great investment. Many people have made a lot of money, but then when it gets to 65, 70,000, like it has now, your return on your investment is greatly diminished. So hence why altcoin season is only a matter of time, and it's already started. Actually, it's already started. So then you got to look at Ethereum. Ethereum is the number 2 token, and you could arguably say it's the number 2 digital reserve currency of the altcoins. it's certainly like a reserve currency to all the other smart contract tokens. All those projects that are built on top of Ethereum, you hear me say the layer twos, and there's even layer threes. Those tokens are very beholden to Ethereum, and whatever Ethereum does, they will tend to mirror or match. So ETH has a completely different use case to Bitcoin, hence due to its smart contract platform. So that gives it a lot more functionality. It's because of Ethereum that we got decentralized finance. So we've got to also thank Ethereum because it has also brought us opportunities we never had before. And because the code is open source, remember Ethereum was created off Bitcoin, and now there's 500 other blockchains that have been created out of Bitcoin and Ethereum. So without them, that wouldn't have happened. And it's going to be really, really interesting to see which survive and which don't. So Ethereum is the main altcoin, obviously as the number two. Their goal is to be the new computing platform to replace the current internet. That's their stated goal. They want to do away with the old internet, and they want the EVM, the Ethereum virtual machine, which will, in their eyes, will completely subsume or consume the existing internet. And I would argue that that will not necessarily be a whole lot better for us because of the people behind Ethereum. That's why I hold a little bit of Ethereum just for fees. I hold a tiny bit of Bitcoin, but I'm not big on Ethereum or Bitcoin because I don't really gel with the ethos. And I much prefer the utility tokens, but that's just me. The layer two tokens are getting so big that Ethereum, as the foundation, is becoming almost indispensable. So Ethereum is creating this huge ecosystem. And look, if Ethereum is the base and something happens to the base, what happens, everything else on top of it will crumble. So it's like a pyramid. It's like another kind of pyramid in a way. Totally different kind of way, but it's still, everything's dependent upon Ethereum for all those layer twos. So it is making Ethereum almost indispensable and a part of our landscape. That's exactly what the banks or the people behind Ethereum want. So this is going to be fascinating as to how it works out. Ethereum is also backed by huge VC companies, VC being venture capitalist companies, Silicon Valley, and JP Morgan. So there's another reason why Ethereum is not, it's not high on my list. But it is still has its place. I accept it has its place, and the code is, it's quite decentralized. However, I'm going to explore the fact that it's not as decentralized as what they make out. I think that's in a slide or two ahead. A lot of confusion surrounds ETH as to whether it is a security token. I don't think it will be given a security status. I think the SEC are doing another scare tactic because they are investigating Ethereum as in a security. That's official now. But it is a cloud, which means they're just trying to hold the market back. They're actually stopping they do not want the market to get away on them. So these narratives help them to keep a lid on it, and so that they can control whether it's going better. I think an ETH ETF is a certainty, but it may be delayed. Originally, they were pretty confident it was coming out in May. They had a date, 25th of May, and might come out then. But I think the security cloud that's around it, it may delay it, but I think it's only a matter of when, not if. They need another bubble to blow up. They want Wall Street investors are champing. They're champing at the bit to get in on it because they're filing these applications that they want in on it. So there's going to be a heck of a rush coming when that happens. Because you can see what the Bitcoin ETF has done to the market. It's really started to boil up. When an ETH ETF comes out, what that's going to probably do to the altcoins is going to be pretty huge. So we need to strap in for when that happens. We're not so interested in the ETF itself. We're interested in the ripple effect that it'll have of all that money coming in will find its way into the rest of the crypto market. It's like a giant flood. And that's when it can get very exciting, but also we have to be really on our guard in that time. Notwithstanding the fact all the other things going on in the world, it's all coming to a head. It's like a singularity. Everything's coming to a point. The crypto market, the financial market, all the disclosure, all the bullshit that's coming out, it's all going to go down to a point, and that's when it's going to get very, very strange. And then after that, it's anyone's guess. The rest of the altcoins are largely seen as dark horses and are largely missed by the masses. Yeah, the diehard crypto enthusiasts and researchers, they know. There's some of us who know the real gems in the altcoins, but we have to pick our way through them and we have to be super careful. So these coins are missed largely because of the huge publicity from the media on Bitcoin and ETH, which I've kind of already mentioned. The media is up to their old tricks in attempting to shape public opinion around this. They want to channel us in the areas where they want to channel us. That's why I purposely go against the grain, and I will look at all the other tokens. And I've researched a lot of them now, and I've got a pretty good handle on them. One of their goals, I believe, is to water down the decentralization aspect. See, they can do that by controlling the payments and infrastructure around the tokens, around the projects. And this is what I talk about with ETH and Bitcoin. If they are controlling ETH and Bitcoin, they can, and the layer twos, then by proxy, they're controlling all the layer twos. Therefore, they're like the castle within the moat, if you like. And the moat is their existing financial system that is around Bitcoin and ETH and their associated tokens. And that then sort of silos them. And so really, are they that decentralized when they're doing it? Well, no, they're not. But remember, the moat is actually getting drained right now. And with their old system, they need their old system up to enable that. So as that comes down, it is actually going to smash their agenda, which I'm sure they are aware of. So this is the tricky part for the central bankers, is trying to then control the narrative after that happens. Once that moat is destroyed, once the existing, when the US dollar, basically, that's their key ace. If that becomes, the joker, then after that, who knows? It's all on. And that's when I think the altcoins are going to completely jump into the limelight. So, yeah, and like Bitcoin and Ethereum could effectively run the whole new system. That's their stated goal. I've seen it. They just Bitcoin with as a currency and Ethereum as a smart contract. They could do all the tokenization. They could control the payments of the world, and they would carry it on, just sort of like what we've got today, but with a few deck chairs moved and a few different things. Totally different kind of system, but still very controlled and very centralized. So we do not want a Bitcoin and Ethereum monopoly. That is not what we want. However, there are many other opposing forces that are ensuring there is huge competition, and much of it is far more decentralized, or it's far more disruptive to the current incumbent system, like the ISOs creating a whole new banking system. They may not be as decentralized, but they're decentralized enough that's going to break open the monopoly that banks have, that SWIFT have, that all the other payment providers have. And because like XRP has a decentralized exchange in the middle, there's no middleman in there still. That is still very disruptive to banks. So they can't clip the same amount of fees that they used to. The altcoins or tokens are adopting many, many use cases to replace the old system. So I actually think these could, and when you think of the number of them, I mean, there's 20,000 altcoins, depending on who you listen to, and some people there's more of them, but they're just not listed. CoinGecko has 13,000 listed. But I reckon out of that lot, there's probably about 1,000 of them that have serious development and use case and brains in the team behind it. Very, very committed to creating a better decentralized system. And I know a lot of them are working together. So it's like a kind of David and Goliath kind of situation that we've got going on here. But in the there's many Davids, there's many more of us than them, and there's a lot of development happening. So don't get put off by what we see in the media or what you hear about Bitcoin or ETH or whatever, because there's a lot of tigers out there in the jungle ready to take them down, basically. Just reminder on a couple of terms. When I say coin, I might use them interchangeably, but a coin is traditionally, it is a crypto on a native blockchain. That means that coin attracts its own fees. Like ETH is a coin, Bitcoin is a coin. Any crypto, and crypto is like a generic term for all of them, right? But a coin is a native blockchain, whereas a token is a crypto on someone else's blockchain, or it's also seen as a digital asset. It's not strictly a cryptocurrency. It's a digital asset. It's a digital share, and but a lot of those tokens are built on other blockchains. Some of them are also on their own native token, so you could say it's a token and a coin combined, but there's not too many of those. However, there are much better decentralized platforms that these tokens can list on, and they're not part of the Ethereum club. Their main use cases of you take all the altcoins together, the predominant use cases that I see in my eyes, it's artificial intelligence. That's a big one. Payments, obviously global payments is a big one. They're true currencies. Real world assets. In other words, the real world assets are getting tokenized and put into a blockchain where you can get proof of ownership, where you can get proof of ID and all of that, proof of title. but the real world assets still exist. They're obviously they're not dematerialized. It's just that their ownership and the way that they can be moved or sold or bought becomes much, much easier. What they call less friction. So property and assets could be moved around the world like currency could be moved. That's pretty huge. Then you've got DPIN, which is decentralized physical infrastructure, like telecom networks, computing storage. Also, there's a crossover there with AI. That's sort of in a DPIN area, but computing storage and physical networks like GPS systems and telecom networks or Wi-Fi networks. They can be tokenized, put on a blockchain. People can have a modem in their house. They link it all up, and they literally can create a whole internet transmission system and telecom type system. Gaming is huge because of the millennials and because there's already 1 billion gamers out there. They're already online. They're already used to the digital world. So digital money for them is just like, it's a natural fit. And though they are driving a lot of the market, and also, unfortunately, gambling, um, gaming is sort of where they play their video games and all that. But gambling is also seen as gaming, but it's really, betting, all that sort of stuff. Casino basically has come into the blockchain as well. And it's just part of human nature. We love to gamble, apparently. Many altcoin projects have maverick developers who are spawning real decentralization, where they're creating end-to-end development. In other words, end-to-end encrypted development, and creating the specter of a whole new parallel system or parallel economy, parallel ecosystem. So that's where I find most exciting, and that's a little bit more longer term. But the seeds have been sown now, and it's really starting to speed up. The payment and tokenization projects are being held back until near last for the real marketing will come at the end when the system collapses and they need to flick the switch. They need to move us into a new system. That's when they're going to start selling us on these tokens. They are being held back because they cannot reveal their hand too early. And a lot of average people don't even know about them because they're not savvy enough. There's not a lot of sophisticated investors out there. We weren't sort of naturally taught this. So hence why the institutions have invested in a lot of the real use case. And when I say institutions, I mean a lot of institutions, though, I think are actually going against the grain of the central systems. There's a lot of fight between different groups at the top end, and some of them are our friend. Some of those institutions, some of those smaller banks and middle ground institutions who still have a lot of clout, they are adopting crypto like crazy, and they're particularly interested in decentralization. Altcoins and mass adoption. Mass adoption will come when the old system is done. That's where we're, in a way, is what we're not looking forward to, but in a way, it is what we're looking forward to. I mean, to me, the system has to collapse because we can't carry on with this horrible, painful, drawn out issue we're in. However, when it does collapse, it's going to be quite painful, particularly for people who are unprepared. It's going to be quite shocking. So, a lot of us are getting prepared for that mentally, financially, emotionally. I think, 80% of the world are going to be completely caught off guard. Even the ones who think they're awake, they are not paying attention to the financial system, unfortunately. So they cannot let the cat out of the bag until they're ready. And neither side can really do that because they don't want to get chopped off at the knees and they don't want to let us know. So they're protecting themselves, and some might think they're protecting us, but at the end of the day, you can't have any big token that's got real world use case jumping the pack. Otherwise, they'll probably just get taken out. So this obviously holds back the price. You know, the most retail investors are not savvy at all. So they don't invest in the big projects. They're going for the bling projects. They're going for the meme coins. They're going for gaming. They're going for NFTs. They're going for all the quick fix, trying to make a quick buck, typical human behavior. So we've got to try and resist that and that temptation ourselves. I know I've sort of fallen for it a little bit myself, and each time I get my fingers burned a bit more, I don't do it anymore. I used to a few years back, but now I'm just holding strong. I know I've got my plan, and I'm resisting those highly hyped projects or the temptation to try and make a quick buck. It just doesn't work. More like a quick loss. Most of the ISO 222 tokens and other key infrastructure tokens, they're not the only ones, they are being supported by institutional investors, like I sort of said before. This gives them the ability to control the price, and they're controlling, obviously, the media and the narrative. They want to be a little bit under the radar. That actually suits a lot of them, and that's kind of the way it is. Unfortunately, price is what retail sees. When I say retail, I mean the average Joe Blow. The average people, they're interested in is price. They're not interested in the development. They're not interested in the big picture. And because of that, they miss the longer term play. They can't see the woods for the trees because they're not researching from a big enough vantage point, or they're not looking at the development and they're not seeing where the project is going. So people are attracted by what they see, and we know that the majority of what we see is kind of an illusion, a very real illusion, but it's an illusion. The real reality is beyond our sight. Altcoins buying and selling. So I sort of got to give you a few pointers here. Buy when the prices are low, sell when high. It seems kind of like logical, right? But most people don't do that. Most people do the opposite because they are focused on price. And then when they see the price going up, they jump in, they ape in, as they call it. And then what they do is then they bought in the wrong cycle. They bought up large and then they run out of money and then they sell when it's dropped again. And so they have effectively, those people have handed their money over to the savvy investors who know the cycle. They are the exit liquidity for the big boys, the traders who know they're going to do that. So this is a big part of human psychology here. This is human nature. And we've got to go counterintuitive to that. We have to go and understand the cycles. Basically, we have to know where we are in the cycle. And it's really not that hard. But the fact is that we're in the minority when we do that. So we go through these cycles roughly every 3.5 to 4 years. It's not exact, but it bleeds in around 3.5 years, and then it bleeds out after 3.5, 4 years. So that's how it runs from peak to peak, or from trough to trough. So this is all happening in unison with the Bitcoin halving. So after the Bitcoin halving, which is coming up actually in about 2.5 weeks, 2.5 weeks, around about the 20th of April, the Bitcoin amount of Bitcoin that gets mined will be cut in half. And so it's a supply demand issue. As the supply is reduced and demand is going up because of the ETF and because of the falling USD, people are going to pile into Bitcoin because it's got the most liquidity. It affects the entire market. And then as the Bitcoin balloon gets bigger, eventually people say, "Oh, I'm done. I need to take profit." And what do? They convert that into altcoins. And this is happening in, you think about the tens, hundreds of billions of dollars that are going to start finding their way into altcoins. It's going to be huge. And then that's going to trigger the retail investors who will follow in from that, and then it's all on. That's altcoin season. The market last peaked around November. It wasn't around November, it was in November 2021. And then we endured basically 2 years of bear market to around, well, in October 2023 was when we reached the trough. So we are now around 6 months into the next cycle, the bull cycle, and we're 6 months into it. It is well known and said that time in the market trumps timing of the market. So if you bought your tokens in the last cycle, in the last sort of bear cycle between 2021 to 2023, 2022 was quite a low year. It was a tough year. So if you bought your tokens in that year, or if you bought them pre to November 2021, or 2020 is actually a good year for buying, then all you need to do is just sit tight, basically hold. If you haven't got the time to analyze the market, you've got your tokens, just hold strong. That's about the best I can say. And in time in the market, eventually all the ups and downs will happen, but eventually you'll come out at the other end you should be looking pretty good. So if you hold long enough and it's a key token, you'll ride out all the ups and downs until eventual mass adoption, which will happen at that singularity moment I mentioned, which is the fall of the old system. So the old will die and the new will be born, and it'll all be happening all at once. It's going to be pretty intense. I still predict that to be 2025 because of a number of reasons, but I'm picking 2025. But we're seeing a big lead up to that in this year, and I think we might see a black swan this year. We will see a lot of chaos and a lot of volatility this year on every level of life. And we can see it now. I mean, you only have to open your eyes and immediately you can see it. It's everywhere. So diversify, really important to diversify across the tokens, across the coins, and across at least 3 important categories. I mean, if you can't do that on 2 categories, if you can't do that, then hold in your favorite category. Everyone's got different resources and access to resources, but try and at least diversify, at least even if you've got 2 tokens, better than 1, and try and make those 2 tokens count, and try and continually do a research to keep up to date with what's happening with the project. This is really not a set and forget program. It's a set and then research program, really. Understand the narratives and the different categories. Understand what they're trying to do. Understand the narrative, as in, in crypto land, the narratives move and change very quickly. Your word is your bond, and from the spoken word we create and we manifest. So it's happening on a bigger scale where there can be a significant thing happens, like NVIDIA. NVIDIA is an example. It's an AI chip. It's a GPU manufacturer. They issued their earnings for roughly, it was about a month ago. They released their earnings. They were huge earnings. And then what that did is set off a whole AI narrative. The AI narrative, I think, is going to be around for quite a while because AI now needs, they know now, well, those who have some understanding of the power of AI, they know that it must be decentralized. So they can put AI on a blockchain. If they decentralize that blockchain, then the AI will be suitably decentralized in kind. And then that's going to make AI far more safer and far more benign and useful for people. Whereas there's another force that wants to control it outside of that in a centralized way. You only have to look at Microsoft, the usual bad actor. They're trying to do it, as well as Apple, as well as all the bad actors. So we have to avoid the centralized AI because it could be very dangerous. But I think if AI is properly decentralized, its use case has a place, not to be all and end all, but certainly it has a place to be used, not abused. So be aware of the narratives, be aware of the different categories that crypto is trying to operate in. And be aware also of the fact that a lot of these projects are all startups. They're all trying to vie for the space of mass adoption and to get chosen and to get regulated and that's really all starts again when they get regulated and mass adoption is starting to come in, then it's a whole new ballgame. Right now, we are probably in a very, very dangerous time, but also quite an exciting time because you can see where it's going, but we can't rest on our laurels, that's for sure. So yeah, many projects and cryptos will not survive. That's just a fact. In fact, some people predict 99% of those 20,000 tokens will go. But 1% of 20,000, 2,000 tokens. And that's plenty enough for a new system. And I think many more will get developed as time goes on. But it's anyone's guess how many are left, but there will be a lot that will go. But the ones that survive, I think they'll go on to be massive, all things being equal. So when it comes to profit taking and strategy of your altcoins, a lot of it depends on your time and your willingness to research or your ability to research. I know everyone's got constraints and they've got a job to go to, got a house to run, they've got children to look after. Life has been made so frenetic and busy, I think, with mice on the wheel sometimes. But if you have time on your hands, rather than wasting time, I suggest that you put a little bit of effort, even if it's just half an hour or an hour a week. It's better than nothing, and chip away at it and just focus on one thing, focus on one project or one aspect of crypto market, and it will pay you back. Your attention will be paid back in kind. I can assure you that. And so if you're time poor, just choose your tokens wisely. So you're here, so you're obviously choosing your time, and then just hold strong. And if you feel like you don't feel comfortable, you can always rotate them into another token. And now, or coming up in the next few months, could be a good time for that rotation. The only thing is that if you're selling in an up market, just remember you'll probably be buying something else in an up market. So, you just got to be thinking what you really want to do, what you want to achieve. But it's better to be holding a token that's going to survive than just watching your token go up and up and up for it to just suddenly plummet because of something's happened. So, basically, the money that you make isn't the key thing. It's the money you keep. That's the key thing here. So you can look like it's doing well. The wallet says you've got X amount, but if you don't get to actually get that in your own hand and spend it or use it, then it's not money you've made. It's just digits and we've seen that a lot with with our other MLM projects. It's another reason why I'm kind of shied away from a lot of them. But with our actual cryptos, it's the same premise. It's money is not made until it's actually, well, used to say when it's in your pocket, but I would say it's also when you actually get to actually spend it or actually secure it somehow. So yeah, just think about that. Um, if you want, you can do a bit of trading, and there's different kinds of trading. There's day trading, which is a full-time job for a lot of people. There's a specific skill to day trading. I am not a trader. I never would profess to be a day trader. I couldn't think of anything worse than being on the computer any more than I already am. But day trading is a skill, and we might actually have someone that can teach us how to day trade, but I would never suggest to people you start going off and start becoming a full-time trader without any kind of education. Swing trading, however, is something that we could possibly do with a bit of research. Swing is where you sort of like, they say you can catch the swings and then move on the roundabouts or whatever. But in this case, it's like you're swinging from one token to another. You catch the upside of a token, and then you decide you catch a new narrative or a new token you've done research on, and you move or rotate your tokens from taking profit to one and then going into another that's starting off at a low price because it's just been released or it hasn't had a lot of attention yet. And that does take time. But yeah, I've rotated my portfolio a bit lately just to rebalance it into what I think is relevant to, because some tokens you buy a few years ago, they kind of some of them go stale and they drop off. So if you think that's the case, you might want to consider rotating. Also, you can buy the new releases, you can buy the pre-launches. Some of us did it with Bonabit. Super excited by Bonabit because we bought it at 1 cent. We were given like 10% extra. It's launching tomorrow, by the way, on Coinbase and Binance. Bang! And it's all about e-commerce and payments and e-commerce. I think Bonabit could be a little winner for us. So we'll see. But their prediction was that it's going to launch at $1 US from day one. We paid like 1 cent. So if that happens, any of you who bought Bonabit, keep an eye on it tomorrow. Could be quite happy about the result. So hold your long-term plays and swing trade a basket of lower tier or rotate based on narrative. So basically just be a little bit flexible. In other words, you might have some that you will not touch, and then you just trade on another little basket of tokens that you're not so sure about, but they're getting a lot of attention. So you just catch the price and then just just think about, what you're doing, and you should be good. Play within your competence level. Don't extend yourself outside of your competence. Get more educated or spend more time building up your understanding. Buy tokens that you resonate with. Not everyone's going to agree on my choices. Basically buy tokens that you feel right. and you like the project and it's doing good things that suit your values. You'll do a lot better with those tokens than doing with tokens that someone else might have told you to buy and you just don't gel with it. I mean, just do what you love and then you'll love what you do. And research the fundamentals, partnerships, development, the tokenomics, the white paper, read the white paper. The TVL is the token value locked. That's how much is staked. And you can find that out from a website called defilama.com. The token supply, the total token supply, the circulating supply, these are all important, and the use case category. I've got the other presentation I did about analyzing your tokens, and I went into that in more depth. So you might want to dig that out if you want to go over it. So I'm only here just to touch on it. But these are the fundamentals of what makes a project. The amount of partnerships they're doing, the amount of developers they've got working on it, and the amount of development, the things they're bringing out. The tokenomics is this, how many tokens go to the team, how many tokens go to the community. That's the tokenomics. It's the allocation of the tokens. The white paper is like their business plan, very important, and you get an understanding of what they're trying to do. You'll find the tokenomics in the white paper as well. And TVL applies only to smart contract platforms. If you look it up, obviously Ethereum, Solana, they're like leading the pack, I think, by quite a long way. So that shows the commitment to the project, they're earning income from that. And it shows that there's a lot of interest and strength around it. There's a lot of faith. If they're prepared to lock up their tokens and it's really, really high, then it shows that they believe in it. And so that's a very good indication. And the token supply is so important, particularly the circulating supply. How many is actually in circulation versus what's the total supply? And I've mentioned this before. When the circulating supply is getting to 100% of the total supply, then that means there's going to be no more new tokens coming on the market. That means the price could be getting really close to blowing up. So that's really important for analyzing where you are in your token and what it might do in the short to longer term. Yeah, so when to take profit is also a key thing, right? Traditionally, best time is after the Bitcoin halving. After about a month, you will have the halving, and traditionally the market drops because people have already bought up a lot in anticipation of the halving. And then there's a sell-off because people are taking profit from all of the build-up. But then, maybe a few weeks later, the market usually starts to run up. So I'm thinking around June. I think that June, barring any major calamity, financial collapse, black swan or whatever, all things being equal, June, July, through August, September, right through to the end of the year is all going to be very ripe for a fairly strong bull market. Like when I say strong, it could potentially be absolutely head spinning. I don't know. It could be a bit more muted than that. And there's going to be dips. It's not going to be all up. People are going to take profit. Human beings, they'll take profit. But the general trend should be up for at least another 12 months. So we've got time, and this is the time where we really got to watch the market, be very vigilant in this time. So, and as Bitcoin leads the way and it pumps, as I say, eventually it's going to There's only a lot of money in crypto land that's going to find its way into altcoins. Do not succumb to greed. Watch the fear and greed index. And there is actually, I was going to show you that. I've gone a little bit longer today. I hope you don't mind, but this is quite a lot of information to put out. So I'll quickly show you that at the end. Take profit in unison with the narrative and the cycle. So some tokens might not all go, they won't all go together. Some might drop off a bit, depends on the narrative. But if everything's aligned, if all the stars are aligned and the narrative is hot and the market is running hot and Bitcoin's running hot and there's lots of positive news coming out, everything lines up. My God, it could be quite incredible what's happening, what's going to happen. This cycle should run to mid-2025. If it was a normal cycle, it would actually run to about October 2025. But I think it will be shorter because it started earlier with the ETF. The ETF may have shortened the cycle a bit. So we've got to be aware of that. And it ran really high. Bitcoin really took off after the ETF was released. There will be lots of volatility. So be aware of excessive emotion when you're dealing with money and you're dealing with this kind of arena. You want to be real level-headed and left-brained and calculating and critical thinking. You do not want to be in high emotion, except maybe some excitement is allowed, but just be grounded with it and just see it as, be prepared for that. Or you could take profit based on your dollar goals needs. You might have a dollar target in mind. You say, right, when I reach that value, I want to take X% off, or I want to sell the whole token. I don't suggest you sell your whole token to get out of the market. Or you might take it to buy back in. But for your blue chip tokens like the ISOs, I'm not taking any profit. I'm just taking profit off other tokens. But if you do, just take 20% off, or take a dollar value that you got in mind. But then you got to think, well, what am I going to do with the profit? You're either going to buy another token, or you're going to hold it in a stable coin, or you can bring it to fiat. If you have to bring it to fiat, just be very aware that the gatekeepers might catch you there. So I would be bringing it to a stable coin, or putting it into another token that you got your eyes on. And then remember, that takes a bit of work. If feeling unsure, just do more research. This should be a huge run, as it's the last unregulated bull cycle we will have. After this, the next bull cycle, we're going to be under a regulated regime, however that might look. That means there's going to be a lot less tokens. It's going to be a totally different ball game. So this means that pretty much everything could go up, because there's no one trying to stop anything. It's people go crazy sometimes, and they will buy anything that moves. But just be aware of what you're buying. And if you think it's high risk, if it's a low cap, be prepared to take profit much quicker. But a black swan event could come at any time. We've got to bear that in mind. Don't be the exit liquidity. Don't be the food for the big players. Try and avoid that. DCA means dollar cost average. You can dollar cost average on the way in and on the way out, on the way up and on the way down. So that means you could have an automatic payment system where you put so much in a week, and then that sort of evens it out. And you can do that as you take profit as well. It's another way to do it. Take your initial investment off the table and then play with house money. That's another thing where you don't want to leave all your money in on the token, at some stage you might, if you take some profit just to recoup your initial investment, and then whatever happens with the token after that is yours. It's the cream. And so that's also a good idea. Yeah, so basically, just to finish, understand the risk and reward ratio. Micro caps and very, very small tokens are obviously very high risk. Then you've got the medium risk, and then you've got the high caps, like the tokens in the top 20, top 10. They're obviously high caps. They're lower risk. Supposedly, roughly lower risk, but obviously there are nuances to that. So be mindful of the risk. Consider having some of each, but really focus on limiting your high risk plays to much smaller amounts of money. You could have more money in the low risk, and just have a dabble in the lower risk ones. I mean the high risk, sorry, but just don't bet the farm. Do not invest what you can't afford to lose. That should be can't afford to lose, by the way. Whoops. Not can afford. Take profits and put them into lower risk tokens. So it's like, yeah, might move them out of you have a bit of high risk play, you make a bit of profit, and move that into the tokens that are much higher up the ranking. Or XRP or XLM or Algo or Chainlink, Avalanche. These are all what I would say are lower risk tokens. Solana is a very good play right now. And if you've got time, look at the airdrops and the pre-launch funding, but be really careful about that. So that's the end of the slideshow. I'll just exit out of there. I was just going to quickly show you. This is the crypto fear and greed index. This gives us an idea of, this is another way to consider whether it's a good time to maybe take some profit. Because we're in a bull market, this will be in the greed quite a lot, in the green. It's not off the scale. It's about 3/4. It's kind of not too bad. That means it's cooled down a bit. But when this dial goes right up to the end, and if it's been there for some time, that's usually a sign that something might about to pull back. There might be a big dip coming. So because we're in a bull market, the dips will be less and they'll be much shorter, but it'll be up and down, it'll be more volatile. When you're in a bear market, the dips can be much more prolonged and much deeper and much more, but the greed side can be very quick. You still have ups in a bear market, just as you have downs in a bull market, but they can be much shorter in cycle. But the general sentiment is going to be quite up at the moment. So don't worry about the dips. If you're holding strong, just ride through them. Also, I was just going to show you this. This is CoinGecko's site. Remember, this CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap, these are the places you want to go for the majority. You can do all your research in one website. And you can click on all the individual tokens. You can find out, you can go through the categories. This is a category for real world assets. I was showing someone before this call, actually, and it is an area that I'm super keen on looking at. And this is how you can do your research, by clicking on the categories and seeing what, see, they're all listed here. Layer 1, smart contracts. Some of these are a bit obscure and I don't look at, but the main ones I look at are layer 1s, smart contract platform, decentralized finance, None of those. Layer 2 is a little bit, yep. Deepen, decentralized physical infrastructure. Gaming, maybe. Artificial intelligence. Those ones that I kind of mentioned. The rest are not so much of interest. Oh, the real world assets, of course. The rest are, we could pick out lots of them if we wanted to. I mean, a lot of them will probably do well, but you just do not want to spread yourself too wide. You've got to sort of be diversified, but don't be so wide that you can't control the things you've got, or looking at too much stuff. Just choose 2 or 3 and really specialize in those, and I think that's the best way to go. Yeah, basically I'll just stop.